All right, shalom everybody. This is my name is Shmuel Bowman, and I think the goal of being an experiential Jewish educator is exactly in that title and those very words to experience and to know that we can learn from everything and everybody. And so I hope that our conversation today, which really, as we will see in a few minutes, is really about experiences, will also be truly a very deep educational experience as well. The title for this is part 3 of the Shavuot series, and it's part 3, and it's called Festival of the First Harvest. How do they celebrate on the Kibbutz? The magical connection between the farmers of Israel and the fields of Israel. And this takes us a little bit of away from our other sessions. The first part dealt with unpacking Shavuot, what really happened in Mount Sinai, really exploring the legends of Chag Matan Torah, which is one of the names that we really associate with Shavuot, the festival of the giving of the Torah. And part 2, which was last week, was on Megillat Ruth, the scroll of Ruth. Why do we read her story? What is this person doing, inserting herself into Jewish history? And now we're going to look at really the agricultural aspect of now look at the agricultural aspect of Shavuot. So I have to tell you, and I was just telling Mayor about this just as we were beginning, is I was driving today from Cholon, which is right beside Tel Aviv. As a matter of fact, there's a I didn't go today, but there's a secret beach. You know the one, Mayor? There's a secret beach. It's the Cholon beach. It's a tiny, tiny beach. Nobody goes there. It's really, really small. But I have to tell you, now it's no longer a secret, I guess, is it? But we'll keep it amongst the Leave Note community. But if you're looking for a real small, private little beach, look for the one in Cholon. So that's where I was today, and I often choose to drive through the countryside. This probably goes back to probably to my parents, right? Doing this instead of going on the main highway, the idea of going off the beaten track and going through those country roads and stopping off at the farms and sometimes winding up behind a tractor, as that could happen. But I always find it more interesting. And that's exactly what we did today. And I pointed out to Ruthie, I was with Ruthie, my daughter, that that Shavuot really does, in Israel, really does coincide with the wheat harvest. And you have a certain time frame in which to do this, right? You have a certain time, like everything has its season. And then what you do is, we're going to explain in a minute, what you do with the wheat is you wind up putting them in these square, well, not square, they're actually called cuboid, right? They're cuboid, the 3-dimensional elongated cubes of bales of hay. They become hay. And it's really funny. I don't know, how it looks outside of Israel, but in Israel, it literally, right, Mayor, it happens overnight. It's like you could be driving down the road, the country road, and these mountains of bales of hay will not have been there like a week ago. And then this week, boom, there they are. They just kind of like boop, popped out of the ground. And there's a good reason for that. In order to explore the way they celebrate Shavuot on the kibbutz, I decided I better talk to a real kibbutznik. Because, it's one thing to look it up on the internet. It's another thing to look at pictures. But I wanted to really hear it from the kishkas. The kishkas. Kishka is Latin for your insides. And it's not really Latin. Anyway, and I really wanted to hear it from the depths of a real kibbutznik. So I invited my friend Yael Dinor, She's not here, but I interviewed her yesterday. I just want to show you a picture of her, just so that you understand. 1 second here. What do I do here? I do share. And then I'm going to do, oh, there we are. And then I'm going to do, let's see if this works. I don't know if you can see that. I probably can't see that. And I'm supposed to do, give me a thumbs up if you can see a picture of Yael. Very good. Okay. Okay. This is Yael. Yael hates having her picture taken. She hates having her picture taken. I have many pictures of Yael. None of them are her looking at me with the camera. She hates pictures. Believe it or not, of all the pictures I have of my friend Yael, this is probably the best picture I have of her looking at me. Yeah. Anyway, so that's Yael. Now Yael, now that you've met Yael and her dog, and she loves animals, I'm now going to come out of this for a second and see if, okay, are we back? Okay, good. Now you're back to seeing me, right? Good. So Yael is a Chaveret Kibbutz. She's a member of the Kibbutz called Kibbutz Dorot. Kibbutz Dorot is located not too far from the town of not too far from the town of Sderot. It's in the area called Shar HaNegev, the gate to the Negev. So it gives you a little bit of a hint to the fact that it's in southern Israel. And it's an old kibbutz. And she's been there her entire life. She was born there. And she is now actually currently the head of the kibbutz. Doesn't mean that she's rich, because nobody really has any more money than anybody else on a kibbutz. It means she has more headaches than anybody else, and she's always busy. And she's the head of the kibbutz, and I think her position finishes pretty soon. I asked Yael the following thing. I asked her to share her thoughts on Shavuot, and I want you to keep in mind that in Israel, so you have this idea of dati and chiloni. I'm personally not a really big believer that there is anything called chiloni, and you'll see why in a perfect example in a moment. But chiloni, for all intents and purposes, means secular, or let's call it not religious. And again, we'll see in a moment how that self-definition doesn't really work. And again, I'm not one, God forbid, I'm not insulting her or anybody who is self-described as chiloni. It's just that we'll find there's a lot more about doing Jewish in Israelis who are chiloni than perhaps other Jews. I think that that doing Jewish as an Israeli, even if you're so-called secular chiloni, is actually a lot more Jewish, right, than people think. I asked Yael to share her thoughts on Shavuot, and I'm going to refer to my notes as well. We did the interview in Hebrew, and her Hebrew is this. If you've ever talked to an older kibbutznik, yeah, so their Hebrew is just, it could be very, very rich and very passionate. Right? Their Hebrew can be really, they're not using slang. They're not using modern slang. They're using the real deal. And she said something very interesting. She said her thoughts on Shavuot immediately turned to the fields. To fields. And she summed up Shavuot with the following two Hebrew words. Chibur Adama. Chibur Adama. Adama means land, right? The land. And Chibur means connection. Connection to the land. For her, when she thinks of Shavuot, it's Chibur Adama. And she went on and she said, what is Shavuot? Shavuot is when you go outside and you see with your own eyes, with our own eyes, the harvest. And I think that that's such a powerful idea. The fact that, you can go to your grocery store and you buy bread. It comes in a packaged thing. You buy a cake, it comes in a box, right? You even buy granola. It's already, at Leaf Note, we used to make granola. Everybody, right? Everybody at Leaf Note had their own granola secret recipe. Everyone, this person's adding cranberries, and this person's doing this, and everybody is like, and you go on the Leaf Note Teal, right? And everybody opens up their bag, and they're like, "You want to try my granola? You got to try mine." Everyone's granola swapping. It's a wonderful feature of Leaf Note hikes. It's amazing. Granola today, you go to the store. Nobody knows how you make granola. It comes in a bag. And here's Yael saying, Shavuot, you go outside, you see with your own eyes, you see the harvest. And she went on, she said, what you're doing at Shavuot is you bring what you grow, you're bringing what you grow to the stage. To the stage. She said specifically in Hebrew, Bama. Bama sounds like the word bima, right? In the shul. Bama means the stage. And I thought that was very interesting. So she's going to tell me about what this stage is all about. But you're bringing it to the stage. She went on, she said, and again, this is somebody who not only is born in the kibbutz, but as we'll hear in a few moments, is already generations, from her father, who was the founder. She said the following. She said, I am part of the earth, and the earth is part of me. And it's not saying it just as a cliche. She's not actually just saying it like, yeah, I'm feeling, really earthy, or I'm feeling really, no, I mean, that's become too cliche. That's become too, I don't know, describe yourself. You think of an earthy person. No, she's saying I'm really part of this earth, and the earth is part of me. She went on to explain something very, very interesting, which is something, if anybody has ever spent any serious time on a kibbutz, which I'm sure some of you have. I had the privilege of spending time on two kibbutzim, Kibbutz Yiftach in the north, in the upper Galilee, and Kibbutz Ein Gedi, right on the shores of the Dead Sea. And really exposed me to what that really means, not only to be part of the earth, but to be part of to see what the kibbutz movement, what's called the Tnuat Kibbutzi, what that really is as a real movement. It's an ideology, and it's extremely, I would even say, rather strict in what you do in order to follow the traditions, right? And it's interesting because Yael was very, very consistent, and she kept saying, but we're not religious, but we do exactly the same thing every single year without any change whatsoever. It always has to be exactly like this. That sounds a lot like religious, but we're not going to talk about you being religious. That's fine. And I think whatever, it was great. They don't call it religious. They call it Tnuah Kibbutzi, the kibbutz movement. And the emphasis of the kibbutz movement is the relationship between the person and the land. This is a critical pillar, okay, in the Tnuah Kibbutzi, in the kibbutz movement. It's interesting because she went on to explain that there happened to be three festivals within the kibbutz movement, within the non-religious kibbutz movement. Three festivals. They happen to, by the way, coincide with Pesach, Shavuot, and Sukkot. And again, these are her words. It just happens to be that the three major festivals, agricultural festivals, happen to coincide with Passover, Shavuot, and Sukkot, and this is when, right? This is when so much is happening. But she really emphasized that of all the three festivals, it was really Shavuot. It was really Shavuot that really was the main one. Yael talked about her father. Her father's name was Aryeh. He had a different last name than he changed it when he came to Israel. And her father was part of what's called the fourth Aliyah. He came over to Israel in 1928, 1929. And was immediately part of the founding of kibbutzim. I'm not sure I don't think he could have actually founded Kibbutz Dorot, because that wasn't founded until 1947, but probably was part of a kibbutz or a kibbutz movement that ultimately could have led to the founding of Kibbutz Dora. And he was very, very particular. He had come from a religious life in Europe, and so he'd come from a religious life. And when he came to Israel or Palestine, right, as it was known then, he made a conscious effort of leaving his religious life and really building, like many, many people, a new narrative, a new Jewish outlook in the land of Israel. I think that's very, very interesting. And he said the following, and I'm going to repeat it exactly as he said it in Hebrew. This is what he said, and this was his mantra. This is Aryeh's mantra. This is Yael's father's mantra back in the 1920s. And he would say, "Tilchi ala adama hayafa." Walk on the beautiful land. L'hargish et adama al haor, and feel the land on your skin, right? On your skin, on your body. Tisku b'chaklaot, and make an occupation of farming, of agriculture. This, for Aryeh, leaving religious life in Europe and finding, in a sense, a new religion or a new ideology in Israel, at the time it's called Palestine, for him, this was what it was about. He looked at Jewish history. And he said, it's not an accident. It is not an accident that we're here in the land of Israel and we're farming and we can build a connection with this great land. It's beautiful. It's hayafa. It reminds me, it's very interesting because he calls it specifically, he gives it hayafa. And I think that's so beautiful that he calls it the beautiful land. There's a story that goes back to Europe. It's a classic story of Galut. It's a classic story of diaspora dealing with the land of Israel. And it has to do with a Jewish farmer. Could have been Poland, it could have been Russia, it could have been anywhere there. And he's not having the greatest success, right, with the land as a farmer. Jews, let's face it, in Europe, they weren't necessarily the greatest farmers. You know, they would try, and even in our own family, right, we hear stories, right, we have relatives who've made it to Canada and tried to give a hand at farming, and okay, that's right, the Bowman family aren't necessarily great farmers, at least not outside of Israel. And in Israel, we're great farmers, but here outside. So the story is this Jew is in Poland or he's in Russia, and he's trying to grow things, and he looks over at his neighbor who's not Jewish. He's not Jewish. He's Polish man, and he's got his head to the ground like this. He's got his ear to the ground like this, and he's like listening. He's like, shh, and the Jew comes over to him and says, "What are you doing?" And the Polish gentleman says to him, I'm listening. Hold on a second. And he's, yeah, wheat? Not wheat. Okay, yeah. Bar, okay, not the bar. Oh, water it there. And he's having, and the Jew's like, what do you do? I'm listening to the earth, the land, and we're having a conversation. Oh, wow, that's amazing. And clearly his neighbor's doing much, much better than he is. So the Jew puts his ear to the ground, and he's, no, I don't hear anything. And at that point, the Polish or Russian man turns to him and says, well, of course you don't hear anything. It's not your land. And this is ultimately the story of the Jew in diaspora. So then it makes perfect sense, in light of that mindset, why Yael's father Aryeh comes from wherever, Germany, Poland, blah, blah, wherever, comes to the land of Israel and says, the land and me, we have a relationship. It talks to me, I talk to it. It's the beautiful land. So I think that's very, very profound. And I have to tell you that when I think of being part of the land, So I'm now going to share, wait a second, I'm going to share this. I'm going to share another picture with you. So I can go to share screen. I'm going to try this again. I'm going to do share. And I'm going to tell me if you see this picture. Tell me if you see a picture of my Aunt Polly. Thumbs up. Thank you. So this is my aunt, my great Aunt Panina. My great Aunt Panina. And she is sitting amongst, not sure if that's wheat or corn, but she's in the middle of a field in Kibbutz Na'an, which is beside Rehovot. And she was a chalutza. She was a pioneer. This picture is taken in the 1930s. If you look really closely, she's literally holding on to the stalks, whether it's got to be wheat. I think it's got to be wheat. She's holding onto the wheat, and she's got this look on her face like she really. When I think of those words, tilchi al adama yafa, to go walk on the beautiful land, lahargish et adama ha'or, and feel the land on your skin, and tilsku b'chaklaut, and make a career in farming. So thank God we have this in my own immediate family. We have this in my family. Somebody who left her land in Galicia, and actually had that opportunity to really feel the land. So I think that's really spectacular. The kibbutz, as Yael will go on to say in our interview, she said, okay, having said everything my father Aryeh just said about make a career at farming, so Yael says, but listen, not everyone's a farmer. It's a very practical thing. I mean, it's very nice, go have a career as a farmer in the land of Israel, but not everybody's really a farmer. Not everybody's really meant to be a farmer, and that's okay. She says, you can have a garden at home. Everyone can have a garden. Everyone can grow something. She's very, very passionate about very passionate about, no matter if you're in an apartment, right, and you're growing, right, tomatoes on your balcony, or whether or not you're, whatever it is, there's always something that you can grow. So important to be connected, right? To be connected to the land. And I thought that was really, really powerful. By the way, Yael, who, again, I'll show her picture again at the end. So Yael happens to be in Israel. She is the pioneer of the vegan movement in Israel. She's considered the bubby of veganism. She's written books on the subject. She gives lectures. She's the one who, long before anybody knew what veganism was, she was all about that. And people actually go to her for questions and for all sorts of amazing things. And it's really wonderful. And I think a lot of that has to do, again, for herself, with her own experience, her own relationship with growing things, and her relationship with the land. So Shavuot happens to be the biggest festival of the year. So what do they do? What actually happens on the kibbutz? Well, Erev Shavuot, the evening of Shavuot, on the kibbutz, everybody comes out and they're eating dairy products, right? Everyone's doing dairy products. They're having anything to do with cheese and milk and things like that. And again, we can talk about it from, the religious perspective, and well, why milk and why dairy? And we can talk about all sorts of interesting theological ideas. No, they're not. For them, it's very simple. Milk and dairy, right, is associated with life and is associated with what you would be eating during the harvest. It makes sense. You got the cow, you're milking the cow, you're making cheese, right? And you're making sure you've got lots of cream going on, and it has a very agricultural life affirming kind of a food. So that's what they're doing in the evening. And during the day, they do something very, very interesting. They go out in the trucks and in wagons into the field, and they have a very, very strong emphasis on children. The children play a major, major role in everything that they're doing. They go out in the field, and the children are actually actively involved in making pita. At this particular kibbutz, Kibbutz Dorot, if you like carrots, and I love carrots, if you like carrots, they got lots of carrots. They're making carrot juice. Now they're growing garlic, but so in this particular case, maybe they're adding garlic into the pita. We get our garlic from Kibbutz Dorot. Every time I go down there, I get boxes of garlic, and it's amazing. And if you've ever seen this product from Israel, it's a spreadable garlic. I don't know if you've seen it, but it comes in these little, almost like capsule-like compartments, right? And you can like take one scoop out, and then you can reseal it. That's from Kibbutz Dorot. So they do amazing things, and they get their kids out, the children out there, and they're very, very involved. And the other thing that they're doing is they're touring the field. They really need to be in the field. It's almost like, let's go. That's the star of the show. The field is the star of the show. They have an 80-year-old tradition, because the kibbutz movement is about 80 years old, where this particular festival is Chag HaBikurim. Bikurim means the first fruits, the first whatever, first produce. And it's very interesting because on that stage, right, that we were talking about before, they are displaying two things. They're displaying the new produce, the new crop, and the new babies. That's right, new babies and new carrots. So you'll have this wild, interesting show going on of all the new carrots and all the new wheat and whatever's new, and all the babies that were born that year, including any baby born up to like the last second before Shavuot. So that's very, very interesting. And what they have that opportunity, so what they do at that opportunity is they have people coming up, especially the elderly people with the younger people, coming up and talking about what's called generations. And they'll bring up a little baby, or they'll bring up a little kid or whatever, and they'll say, this person is the child of this, who is the child of him and the child of her and the granddaughter. And they do this whole generations thing as far back as they can go. And that way they do this link to the fact that this person just didn't pop out of nowhere, but they're part of this, in a sense, this growing, this part of this planting and this harvest. It's an amazing, amazing idea. I'm going to show you. Tell me, make sure you can, if you can see this. It's a smaller picture. I apologize. I don't know. Maybe I can get a little bit bigger there. Let's see if we can do that. There we are. Tell me if that got a little bit bigger for you. Did it? Thumbs up? Yeah. So this is an example of the bama, of the stage. And it looks like a tractor, because it is. It actually was on wheels and got moved out there, but it's not in motion at this moment. And the reason I can tell you that is because one of the things that you can see is the sound speaker in front of the stage, right? And here they are, the children are dancing, the Israeli flag. This is Shavuot dancing. It's a very, very big part of what's going on. And also the dresses that the women are wearing, and also men are wearing special shirts, are all specific for Shavuot. They're made just for the occasion. You don't wear them any other time of the year except on Shavuot, on the holidays. It's a very special kind of dresses and outfit that you're actually wearing. And if you look to the left of the picture, you can see in Hebrew it says Hazorim. And Hazorim literally means planting, that which have been, in other words, the things that you plant. So there is this amazing connection between the plants, the flowers that are going on, the crops that are going on, and the actual children. It's absolutely quite amazing. I think I got another shot here of, or maybe not. Let me get this one here. Tell me if you see this one. Right? So here we have also, those are the bales of hay that I'm talking about. So now with that in mind, I can tell you how that happens. The final thing that happens, or one of the final things that happens, which is very, very big on Shavuot day in the kibbutzim, is that the tractors go out specifically on Shavuot. And it's very interesting because when Yael said this, she said, because that's what it says in the Tanakh. That's what it says in the Bible. On Shavuot, you harvest. To which my son Gavriel said, interesting, different interpretation from what we do. But the idea being that the harvest is something that the Bible commanded to do, and therefore we do it on Shavuot. The first tractor would go out into the field, and it would take the wheat and separate the seeds of the wheat from the stalks. The seeds of the wheat are then gathered at the bottom of the tractor, and those are the seeds that are ultimately going to be used for bread, for that granola, for any wheat product. And now what you've got left are the stalks, and those stalks get left on the ground. And then another tractor comes along, gathers up those stalks, and turns them into these big square or cuboid shaped bales that you see here in this picture. And that's how the process works today in modern times. In older times, you would go out and you would literally, with the long knife, which I'll show you in a minute, it's called in Hebrew a chermesh, you would actually go and cut down the wheat. It would be a much slower handmade kind of a process. And Yael was extremely, extremely proud to let me know that there were three men. There are three men as part of the ceremony, and these three men would go out and do the ceremonial, even in modern times, would do the ceremonial cutting with the chermesh. And her father, Aryeh, was one of the men who would cut, and she holds that in great pride, so much so that at the front of Yael's house is this. And this is a picture of a chermesh, and she has it in the front of her house. As you can see, she also uses it to help her ivy plant kind of climb a little bit up the wall. But this was her father's chermesh, and as I mentioned, it's a type of a cutting knife for specifically used for cutting wheat. And it's quite an amazing artifact. It's obviously not used today in production, but it holds a very special place of honor at her house. And again, I just want to give honor back to my friend Yael. For those of you who missed a picture of her at the beginning, there's my friend Yael, who was very gracious in giving me this interview last night. I have to tell you that by the end of the interview, I had a smile on my face the entire time we talked by telephone. And I have to tell you that at the end of the conversation, I said to her, Yael, well, I just feel like I've received Torah Sheba'al Peh. I just feel like I've received the spoken Torah. It was just so beautiful. It was just so rich and so beautiful. So anyways, thank you, Yael. And if you have a chance, when you come to Israel and you're interested in meeting her and just literally hearing whatever she has to say about farming, or if you want to hear what she has to say about veganism, or if you want to hear what she has to say just about anything, she's absolutely amazing. So on the subject of Torah Sheba'al Peh, I just want to conclude, because we saw a picture there of children with flowers and the role of flowers. I want to bridge a little bit the story, the agricultural story, with Torah. So Shavuot, so I'm just saying this because it's interesting. It happens to be my birthday. Okay, so my birthday is the second day of Shavuot. In Israel, I know I lost the status when we made Aliyah of having my birthday on the second day of Shavuot. My birthday is now Isra Chag, the day after Shavuot, but that's okay. I still consider myself a Shavuot baby, and that's totally great. And so therefore, it's a special meaning, special day. I feel personally, I feel very connected to it. A lot of great things should happen on one's birthday. In 1977, so my parents took my sister Minda Zichrono Lebracha and me to Israel for our bar and bat mitzvah trip, our tour to Israel. And when we got here, we met a lot of amazing people. And one of the amazing people that we met was a gentleman who was a friend of my late grandfather's, Rav Yoel Teich, a man by the name of Rabbi Shmuel Kahana. Rabbi Shmuel Kahana had been the director of religious sites in the land of Israel. I'm not going to go into detail at this point about who he was, because he was an unbelievable, remarkable man, and because of him, many of the religious sites in Israel have been identified. he was adamant about identifying them when as the state of Israel was growing and developing. He said, this is our opportunity as we've come back to the land of Israel. Where is the grave of Dan? Where is the grave of our forefathers? Where is this site? Where is that site? And he was very careful in doing the research and identifying it. He was also the head of Mount Zion, which between the years of 1948 and 1967 was the closest that you could actually get to the old city. So he held a very, very important role for people who are making pilgrimage, Aliyat HaRegel, to Yerushalayim. So he writes in this amazing book that I received called Legends of Israel. And I received this book in 1977. And we love this book. We read this book every time a different festival comes up, we read about it. And this one particular, this story jumped up at me regarding Shavuot. So I'm going to share this with you. It's very short, but I think very powerful. It's called the black spotted flower. It is the custom of the director of Mount Zion to greet Shavuot by sending flowers grown on Mount Zion, the symbol of the Torah, to synagogues and friends. Tradition asserts that in honor of Matan Torah, the receiving or the giving of the Torah at Mount Sinai, which is, Mount Sinai is usually a very bare mountain. Bare, in other words, nothing's growing on there. If anyone's ever been to what they believe is Mount Sinai, we're not even sure, but it's just, right, dirt, just dirt, okay? However, according to our tradition, during Matan Torah, the mountain was clothed in a, as he says, a riot of colorful blooms. In other words, the entire mountain sprung up flowers. It's a midrash. It's a beautiful story, and we hold it. We keep it. Proof of this legend, right, was found in the words of the Megillah Esther, that the law was given in Shoshan. That's what it says. The law was given in Shoshan. The last words in Hebrew, Shoshan, means roses, as in Shoshan, Shoshana, right? Shoshan is roses, but it's also the capital of Persia. Hence, the custom of decorating synagogues and houses during this festival with flowers. Personally, I find that to be an absolutely amazing insight. I often thought, and I think Yael would say to me, Shmuel, don't be ridiculous. We have flowers that decorate everything because, right, going back to agriculture and planting and gardening and the earth. And I think that there's room for Yael's argument, and there's certainly room for Rabbi Kahana's position as well. Absolutely. Okay, so therefore the custom of decorating our synagogues and homes with flowers. What flowers are more suitable for this purpose than the flowers grown on Mount Zion, the mount from which the Torah proceeded? For the Torah, right? Ki mitzion teitzei Torah u'davar Hashem me Yerushalayim, right? Ki mitzion, from Zion, the word of the Torah goes out. So it makes sense. He's gonna send out flowers. Among those of his friends who he sends flowers are the bereaved parents whose sons and daughters paid the supreme sacrifice during the War of Liberation. What we call the War of Independence. And he takes greatest care that the flowers that he sends are only from the red or the white variety. Okay, that's what he's sending out to the bereaved parents, the parents who have unfortunately suffered this great, great sadness. And he makes sure that these flowers are without the slightest spots on them. They're absolutely pure, beautiful flowers coming from Mount Zion. And this is his gift on Shavuot. Okay? And he does this for a very, very particular reason. So what happened was, he's recounting the story of one particular bereaved mother who ceaselessly shed tears over her son who lost his life in the War of Independence. But this time, when he sent her red roses, he chose those with black spots on them. And here's the reason why. He wrote to the mother, along with these roses with the black spots, he wrote her a letter about a conversation, right, that he had had with another mother, also who had lost, right, also who had lost a son. The mother of one who was killed in the war came to me a year ago, he writes in his letter to this other mother who can't stop grieving. She absolutely can't stop grieving. When my son died, I placed a rose bush in my garden to bear his name. Was he not a flower? Yes, she could derive consolation from that flower. That rose bush she worked every day with her tears, received its warmth from the emotions that welled from her heart. The rose bush grew beautifully, a delight to the eye and fragrant to the nose. Each night her son would visit her in her dreams with a flower in his hand and a smile on his face. For a whole year, the bush grew and the nightly visit continued, bringing rays of warm happiness in the heart of the mother. A year passed and the whole situation changed. The rose bush began to wither, the flowers shriveled up with large black spots disfiguring them. The more she continued to water the bush with her tears, the more the flowers drooped. Her dreams also changed, for though her son continued his nightly visitations, his face wore a sad appearance, and the flower he bore in his hand was full of black spots. His face bore the mark of black stains. As she told the story to the director, her face stained with tears. What was the reason why the face of her son appeared with black spots? The director, Rabbi Shmuel Kahana, gave her this explanation. The black spots are born of your endless grief. Your son wishes you to restrain your tears. The first year, your tears were natural, and this helped towards the luxurious and fragrant growth of the bush. But after the first year, excessive grief led to the withering of the bush. The black spots, both on the flowers and on your son's face, are protests against your constant mourning. Your son wishes you to abstain henceforth from this demonstration of endless lament. He then followed up this explanation with the Talmudic story of the widow who shed bitter tears over the death of her beloved husband, refusing to be consoled. During her nightly dreams, he would appear dressed in a snow-white kittel. That's this white robe, this white outfit that you wear on Yom Kippur, this kittel. One night, however, he appeared with black stains on his seamless heavenly robe. She asked him to explain the reason of their appearance, and the answer he gave was, "The black spots are due to the tears you continuously shed over my death." She took his words to heart and ceased to weep. From that time onward, her husband continued to appear to her nightly, dressed in his spotless gown, with a heavenly smile on his lips. This story was the one that Rabbi Kahana wrote to the bereaved mother, to whom he had sent the black spotted flowers. The mother took the moral deeply to heart, ceased to weep, and the bush continued to grow fragrantly as before, and the son to visit her nightly with a smile on his face, and she was comforted ever afterwards. Well, I find that to be a very, very powerful story, a very deep story, a Shavuot story that celebrates, again, life, just like Yael teaches us about the life in the fields and renewal in one generation to the next. So the flowers that are coming from Mount Zion, and in this particular case, this tremendous, tremendous lesson taught by Rabbi Kahana is there really to tell us to celebrate life and to truly be part of the land and for the land to be part of us in the land of Israel. I hope and pray that if you're not here right now, that you'll be able to somehow get here soon to experience this for yourself. And if you are far away from Israel, then to bring a little bit, some Shavuot into your life. Look out into your garden, bring something from your garden into your table. Have a little cheesecake, right? have some Bailey's Irish cream, do a l'chaim, and really enjoy the life of affirmation of Shavuot. So thank you, everybody. Wishing everybody a Chag Sameach.